Welcome to the second episode of Financial Literacy series. In the first episode, we learnt about a concept called inflation. In today's episode, we shall learn what is interest and how inflation affects interest. Let me start with an example. Kamal is a businessman. He owns a small retail grocery shop. He has 1 lakh rupees of amount in his bank account. If he invests this amount in his business and buys more goods for his shop, then he can make more profit through this amount over the next few months. So, from investing point of view, his present money can earn him more money in the future. In case Kamal does not want to invest this amount in business, he can use the amount for different purposes like buying some furniture or gadgets for his house, going on a vacation which gives him comfort and happiness. This is from spending point of view. Now, before Kamal decides whether to invest or spend this amount, his friend John requests him to lend 1 lakh rupees to him for an urgent purpose and says he will return the amount in 1 year. Kamal is now in a dilemma as he was thinking to invest or spend this amount and informs John about his situation. John offers a solution. He says while repaying the borrowed amount back after 1 year, he shall add an extra amount of 10,000 rupees and give him 1 lakh 10,000 rupees. Now, Kamal is satisfied and lends the money to John. This extra amount of 10,000 rupees paid by John to Kamal is called interest, and it is expressed as a percentage of the amount lent, that is the principal amount. In this case, the interest percentage is arrived as interest amount divided by principal amount, that is 10,000 divided by 1 lakh, which is 10%. Essentially, interest refers to a compensation given by the borrower to the lender to compensate for the potential loss of income had he invested the amount, or for the sacrifice of comfort and happiness had he spent the amount. Now that you have understood the concept of interest, let us extend this a bit further. In the earlier example, a person was lending to another person who needed money. Similarly, there are instances where companies, financial institutions, and even governments need money and borrows from public and pays interest on the borrowed amount. Take the example of banks. In the previous episode, I gave an example of investing the amount in a fixed deposit in banks. We generally say that we are making an investment when we open a bank deposit. However, essentially you are lending the amount to the bank who is borrowing it from you for its needs and pays you interest as compensation. On the other hand, when you need money, you borrow from the bank by taking a loan and pay interest to the bank as compensation. Let us now go back to our 8th standard maths and refresh our memory about the concepts of simple interest and compound interest. This will help us in understanding the topics to be discussed in the future episodes. Let's continue with the example of investing in a bank fixed deposit. Say you invest 1 lakh rupees for a duration of 3 years. The bank offers you an interest of 10% per annum and gives you two options. Option 1, you can receive the interest amount periodically, say like monthly, quarterly, half-yearly or annually in this duration, and the principal amount at the end of 3 years. Or option 2, you can receive the total interest amount along with the principal amount at the end of the duration, that is 3 years. Well, is there any difference? Let us understand with the numbers. First, let us take the first option. If you had say opted for annual payment of interest for an investment of 1 lakh rupees at 10% per annum, the bank pays you an interest of 10,000 rupees at the end of first year, another 10,000 rupees at the end of second year, and the final 10,000 rupees at the end of the third year, along with the invested amount. So the total interest amount received over 3 years is 30,000 rupees. This is simple interest. Now let us take the second option, which is the compound interest option. Here too, the bank has the 10,000 rupees interest ready to be paid at the end of first year. However, since you have opted to receive the interest at the end of the duration of the fixed deposit, that is after 3 years, the bank can now use this interest amount also for its needs for the next 2 years. So, to compensate you for the same, the bank pays you the same interest rate on this 10,000 rupee interest for the next 2 years. Hence, at the end of second year, the interest amount eligible for the second year will be computed on the sum of invested amount of 1 lakh rupees and the first year interest of 10,000 rupees. So, the second year interest will be 10% on the sum of 1,10,000 rupees, that is 11,000 rupees. Now, this interest amount is also left for the bank to use for the next 1 year, for which again it will compensate you by paying interest at the rate of 10%. Now, at the end of third year, the interest amount eligible for the third year will be computed on the sum of the invested amount of 1 lakh rupees, the first year interest of 10,000 rupees and the second year interest of 11,000 rupees, that is 1,21,000 rupees. So, the third year interest will be 10% on 1,21,000 rupees, that is 12,100 rupees. Now that the duration of 3 years is complete, the bank pays you back the invested amount of 1 lakh rupees plus interest for 3 years, that is 10,000 of first year plus 11,000 of second year plus 12,100 of third year, making it a total of 33,100 rupees. When you opted for simple interest, you received a total interest amount of 30,000 rupees over 3 years. However, when you opted for compound interest, you received a total interest amount of 33,100 rupees, as the interest accrued, that is eligible every year, also earned further interest for the remaining duration. As you saw from the example, every year the interest amount kept increasing in compound interest, and hence the difference between simple interest and compound interest can be huge for a longer duration. Why will then anyone choose simple interest? Some people may require interest income periodically to meet their day-to-day needs. For example, retired people whose income have stopped rely on interest income to fund their day-to-day needs. Let us now understand how inflation affects the interest earned by us. Assume two persons, Abdul and Ravi, want to buy a small refrigerator each, which is costing 10,000 rupees today. Both have 10,000 rupees with them today. However, they want to buy it after 1 year. Abdul decides to invest this amount in a bank fixed deposit for 1 year and use it after 1 year to buy the refrigerator. Ravi just keeps the amount inside a cupboard in his house safely to use it after 1 year to buy the refrigerator. At the end of 1 year, Abdul receives the amount back from the bank with an interest of 8%, that is 800 rupees, and has 10,800 rupees with him now. Ravi has the same 10,000 rupees as he had kept it in the cupboard. Now both visit the showroom to buy the refrigerator. To their surprise, the cost of the refrigerator has now gone up by 6% from last year due to inflation and is available at 10,600 rupees. As Abdul had invested the amount in a FD, which gave a higher rate of interest than the inflation rate, he was able to afford the refrigerator now and has extra 200 rupees left with him. However, Ravi could not afford to buy the refrigerator now with a shortfall of 600 rupees, as the amount lying with him has not grown and remained constant at 10,000 rupees. In short, today's 10,600 rupees is equal to last year's 10,000 rupees. In Abdul's case, inflation has eaten into the returns, that is interest generated by the investment. Despite the FD earning 800 rupees, the real value of his investment has grown by only 200 rupees, as due to inflation, the adjusted principal amount becomes 10,600 rupees now. This is referred to as real return. Real rate of return is computed as 1 plus nominal rate of return divided by 1 plus inflation rate minus 1, where nominal rate of return refers to the returns, that is interest originally generated by the investment. In this example, real rate of return is equal to 1 plus 8% divided by 1 plus 6% minus 1, which is 1.89%. In other words, 200 rupees divided by inflation adjusted principal of 10,600 multiplied by 100 gives you 1.89%. Hope you now understood how inflation affects the interest earned and reduces the purchasing power of money. Investing your money at a return which matches inflation rate will keep the purchasing power of your money intact. However, if you must increase the purchasing power of your money and increase your wealth, your investment must earn a higher return than inflation rate. Before we wind up, let me tell you it takes a lot of time and effort to make this video. But I'm sure it doesn't take so much of time and effort for you to click the subscribe button. Before we leave, let's quickly recap today's learning. Interest refers to a compensation paid by the borrower to the lender for parting his money for using it for a specific duration. It is paid to compensate the potential loss of income of the lender or the sacrifice made by the lender. When you invest in a bank FD, it essentially means you are lending money to the bank and it pays you interest. When you borrow money by taking a loan from the bank, you pay interest to the bank. Simple interest refers to receiving interest from an investment periodically. Compound interest refers to receiving interest at the end of the investment duration along with the principal, where the interest accrued every year also earns further interest till the end of the investment duration. Inflation eats into the interest, that is returns generated by an investment. Real rate of return refers to the nominal return discounted by inflation rate. To increase the purchasing power of your money and increase your wealth, your investment must earn a higher return than the inflation rate. Until we meet in the next episode, goodbye.